All right, we will try that again. Changes in technology up here, so my apologies. Good afternoon. I'm Robert White, council member at large and chair of the Committee on Housing. Today is Thursday, September 19th, 2024, and we are meeting in room 412 of the John A. Wilson Building. The time is now 1:12 p.m., and I'm calling to order this public roundtable. The purpose of this roundtable is to consider a number of appointments proposed by the mayor, including PR 25-822, Rental Housing Commission Toya Carmichael Confirmation Resolution of 2024, PR 25-833, Board of Real Estate Appraisers Anthony Bowling Confirmation Resolution of 2024, PR 25-914, Real Estate Commission Erica Black Confirmation Resolution of 2024, PR 25-915, Real Estate Commission Edward Downs Confirmation Resolution of 2024, PR 25-916, Real Estate Commission Ramona Barber Confirmation Resolution of 2024, PR 25-917, Real Estate Commission Monique Owens Confirmation Resolution of 2024, PR 25-918, Real Estate Commission Frank Pytranton Confirmation Resolution of 2024, and PR 25-919, Real Estate Commission Joseph Borger Confirmation Resolution of 2024. I will note at the outset that after we filed the notice for this roundtable, some of the appointments have been withdrawn, including that of Ramona Barber, Joseph Borger, and Frank Pytranton. So we will not be hearing from those, and Monique Owens. So we will not be hearing from those nominees today. I will briefly describe the appointments we are still considering. The first proposed resolution, PR 25-822, would reappoint Judge Toya Carmichael to the Rental Housing Commission. The Rental Housing Commission serves as an appellate body for Rental Housing Act cases. If a tenant or landlord disagrees with the decision made by the rent administrator at the Department of Housing and Community Development or by a judge at the Office of Administrative Hearings, they can appeal the decision to a panel of 3 judges that sit on the Rental Housing Commission. The commission also finalizes annual rent increase adjustments for the district's rent stabilization program and makes sure Rental Housing Act regulations are up to date. This proposed resolution would reappoint Judge Carmichael as one of the 3 commission members for a term to end July 18th, 2027. According to the materials submitted by the mayor, Judge Carmichael is a Ward 7 resident, has been on the commission since April 2023, and brings with her several years of legal experience that include attorney advising, adjudication, organizational management, and alternate dispute resolution. The council must actively approve her appointment, or it would be deemed disapproved on November 10th. The second proposed resolution, PR 25-833, would reappoint Anthony Bowling as the DC licensed real estate broker to the Board of Real Estate Appraisers for a term to end June 26, 2027. The Board of Real Estate Appraisers regulates the practice of real estate appraisal and certifies and licenses appraisers. The board is made up of 5 members. 3 members must be real estate appraisers licensed in the district. 1 must be a real estate broker licensed in the district, and 1 must be a consumer member. Based on the materials the mayor submitted, Mr. Bowling is a Ward 7 resident, but has been on the board since 2022 and has over 35 years of real estate professional experience, managing over $30 million in sales. The final set of proposed resolutions relate to the Real Estate Commission. Specifically, those still pending before the committee would reappoint Erica Black as a real estate salesperson licensed in DC for a term to end December 13th, 2027, and Edward Downs as a real estate broker licensed in DC for a term to end on December 13th, 2027. According to the materials the mayor submitted, Erica Black is a Ward 7 resident and has been on the commission since 2019 and brings several years of expertise buying and selling homes. Edward Downs is a Ward 2 resident who has been on the commission since 2017 and brings over 30 years of real estate experience. The Real Estate Commission's role is to regulate the real estate industry in DC. The commission is made up of 9 members. 3 members must each hold a broker's license. 2 members must hold a salesperson's license. 2 members must hold a property manager's license. 1 member must be a licensed attorney, and 1 member must be a consumer member who does not hold a real estate license. Both the Board of Real Estate Appraisers and the Real Estate Commission are tasked with issuing licenses, enforcing compliance, investigating complaints, providing education to ensure professionalism in the field, and protecting consumers. Although the board and commission members serve on a voluntary basis, they both play a critical role in oversight and regulation of our real estate industry. They both hold monthly public meetings and review disciplinary cases on a case-by-case basis. Ensuring that our residents are served fairly by real estate professionals goes beyond ensuring courtesy. It means that all residents must be treated with fairness and integrity. Protecting our residents requires that we understand the harm they face. For too long, people of color, especially Black Americans, have faced systemic barriers in the housing market, from redlining to bias in appraisals. This is not just a chapter in history, but an ongoing reality that has affected countless families in DC and across the country, including my own. This bias in the real estate industry has contributed to deep economic segregation in our city. As many of you are aware, my staff and members of the public recently attended a public meeting of the Real Estate Commission, where some current members dismissed my concerns about the impacts of bias in this industry as a, quote, waste of time, end quote, and implied that discussions about race should be avoided. That approach both ignores our history and avoids the ongoing problems that many residents still face today. Our Real Estate Commission in particular, and really all of our boards and commissions, must be focused on advancing equity in our city and challenging racial bias wherever it is found. I will continue to highlight the need for diverse voices in our boards and commissions, and I will continue to have some difficult conversations about race and other topics because we are here to make progress, not go in circles. Separately, I heard some concerns from the Real Estate Commission members about pre-hearing questions and our hearings for nominees. Let me be very clear. Every committee is or should be doing the same level of due diligence to ensure that nominees meet statutory requirements and to address any potential conflicts of interest. I do not agree that it's a waste of time. It is not a waste of time because your appointments are important. Your industry is important, and because boards and commissions are public positions. I'm now going to call up our public witnesses. I want to thank everyone today for their willingness to serve, and I'm looking forward to our hearing. We've posted a witness list on the council's hearing management system website, which you should have received from my staff ahead of this hearing. If you're a registered witness and are here in the room, please listen closely for your name. If you indicated that you plan to participate virtually but are here in person, which I don't think applies here, public witness, thank you. Please let my team know at the side of the dais over there. For witnesses joining over Zoom, when I call your name, the committee staff will promote you from attendee to panelist. You'll see a pop-up on your screen and you'll need to accept the promotion to join the panel. You'll then drop out of the Zoom momentarily and will come back in as a panelist. Public witnesses will have 4 minutes to testify, and advisory neighborhood commissioners testifying as commissioners will have 5 minutes. I'll now call up our first public witness, Thaddeus Dawson, CEO of 10,000 Minority Appraisers Foundation, Incorporated. You can come to the table and welcome. So if you just hit the button on the microphone and you can begin your testimony.
Hi, my name is Thaddeus Dawson. I'm the founder of 10,000 Minority Appraisers Foundation. I came here in support of Anthony Bowling's appointment to the appraisal board. I've been a certified journal appraiser for 37 years now, and the field has a lack of diversity for sure. It's the third least diverse profession in the country, behind farming and lumberjacking. Over 65% of the profession is over 50 years old, with less than 7% under 35 years old. And so it's so impactful, but most people don't give it the respect that it deserves. The wealth gap is tremendous and growing every day, and Black people lose $200 billion in equity a year due to undervaluation. Black farmers lose another $100 billion, but that's pale in comparison to the federal government and the Native Americans. they lose trillions of dollars due to outdated fee schedules due to the lack of real estate appraisers. And Anthony was refreshing to meet because probably I've only encountered three minorities on an appraisal board across the country, and I say Black folks. And so right now he would be one, and then there's another one that I'm aware of in Georgia, and so he is very strong in the field. He listens. He doesn't have an appraisal background per se, but he has a strong real estate background. And the thing in appraising is everybody's solving appraising issues, but appraisers, and nobody is willing to listen. He's willing to listen. I met him last year at the Aero Conference in Savannah, and he represents DC proudly. I think the first thing he told me was third generation original DC, and I think Seventh Ward. I don't remember all the particulars, but it's refreshing. The industry has a total lack of leadership across the board, and there's nobody advocating for Black appraisers or Black people in the space. So you have these appraisal diversity initiatives, but at the head of these initiatives are all of the lenders that have been brought under sanctions from the Justice Department. And then you have the appraisal arm of the Appraisal Diversity Initiative, who their CEO just recently wrote 3 articles saying that bias in appraising has been sensationalized. So it's somewhat confusing if you're the head of diversity, but then it's sensationalized, and then everybody wonders why there's nothing getting done. So I serve on the OCC Project 2 Reach committee, and hopefully we can start to move the needle a little bit. But we also have, our solution is we have the first ever National Appraisal Apprenticeship Program certified through the U.S. Department of Labor. And we would love to be able to implement that here in DC to help along with the process, because there was a lack of appraisers in county, city, state, and federal. And you all could be the catalyst of change across the country, because every federal agency has an appraisal department and are in need of real estate appraisers.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I appreciate it with respect to the nominee, Mr. Bowling, and with respect to what I believe is a real issue that is bias in appraisals. And I often come across folks who do appraisals and generally find 2 categories: folks who believe that there's not a problem, and folks who believe there is a problem, but that is somebody else's problem to fix. But I've been in this category that you mentioned. When I have an appraisal done for a home, I will take down stuff that indicate that it's a Black family that lived there. I've asked my white neighbors to come by during the appraisal, just so the appraiser knows that white folks live in the neighborhood. And this doesn't surprise most people of color. But unfortunately, it's still one of those things that a lot of people deny that happens. But to your point of your testimony, it has an economic impact. It has a severe economic impact. And if we don't grapple with it, even though it's difficult, if we don't grapple with it, we don't move forward. I am interested in having people not who come to a specific conclusion, but who are willing to grapple with this and other difficult issues. What I take from your testimony is that you believe that Mr. Bowling will grapple with difficult issues, but also will look more broadly into the issue of diversity in our appraisal profession, because you mentioned not just race but age is something. Based on your experience, what should we be doing in the District of Columbia or elsewhere to diversify appraisers?
So the biggest thing in bias is the appraisal model is broken. It hasn't been updated in 40 years. So if you were to refinance your house today and look at the bottom of the appraisal form, it's dated 2005. So Apple is on its 16th iteration of the iPhone. So a lot of the appraising is subjective. And now with technology, you are able to utilize database evidence-based data-driven analysis, taking the subjectivity out of the appraisal. It's almost like parenting. When I grew up, you did it because your parents said so. Now you got to talk to your kids. You got to work. It don't matter who pays the bills. You still got to have the conversation and be objective and open. So they just came out with the reconsideration of value. It doesn't cure everything, but it gives the appraiser an opportunity to get it right and to look at some sales that may have not been available when they first did the appraisal. So again, it's about updating the whole model. That won't eliminate the bias, but it will go a long way to mitigating it.
I appreciate that. And you mentioned an apprenticeship program for potential future appraisers. Can you say a little bit more about that?
So we have the first ever National Appraisal Apprenticeship Program through the Department of Labor, and it's a 2-year program where we help to try to mitigate some of the challenges or barriers to entry into the field. And the biggest barrier to entry is people not being able to work for free for 2 years after they get the courses. So we're able to, through grants and subsidies, help to assist and be able to pay them while they learn. So you have formal education and informal education. After you get your hours in, you still have to go through the iterations and the practice. And there's no perfect appraisal, but you have to start somewhere. So if folks are able to start getting those hours and getting better and be supported in the process, it goes a long way to opening up the field. So we've been working with some of the 1890 land grant colleges. There's so many different levels of appraising. You have the tax assessor's office, you have the city office, the state right away. The Biden-Harris administration has put out billions of dollars in infrastructure for highways, bridges, and fiber optics. Those will require right-of-way appraisals. And unfortunately, minorities make up 1% of the appraisers, and 90% of that 1% only does residential. So there's a whole world of opportunities out there. The U.S. Forest Service and the Department of Interior, a lot of those appraisals will be going across those lands because that's where it'll be developed. And those two agencies manage over 400 million acres of real estate. So I was at Fish and Wildlife Refuge last night. There's water rights, conservation easements, all types of opportunity in the value space that people don't even know exist. So we like to try to bring exposure and then after that, expansion.
The University of the District of Columbia is a land grant institution. So if Mr. Bowling is confirmed and he calls you for help and advice, getting an apprenticeship program started at our land grant institution, you're going to help him?
Well, he called me today and I'm here, so I think that's pretty evident.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you for being here. Public testimony is incredibly helpful for the work that we have to do with our nominees. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to do our nominees in 3 separate groups. So we will start with Judge Toya Carmichael, nominee for reappointment to the Rental Housing Commission.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for being with us today. Judge Carmichael, you can provide your statement when you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman White and members of the Committee on Housing. My name is Toya Carmichael, and I am humbled by and grateful for the opportunity to speak with you today regarding my interests and qualifications for reappointment as an administrative judge with the Rental Housing Commission, or the RHC. I am honored to be renominated by Mayor Muriel Bowser to serve on the RHC and thank our mayor for her confidence in my ability to continue to serve the city in this capacity. I want to also thank the committee for holding this hearing today, allowing me to update you on my work with the RHC over the last 17 months, and to express why I would like to remain on the commission for a full 3-year term. First, I would like to note that I meet the statutory qualifications for the appointment. I am an attorney in good standing with the District of Columbia and Maryland State Bars, and I am admitted to practice law before the District of Columbia Court of Appeals. I am a 19-year resident of the district and reside in Ward 7, where I am neither a tenant nor a housing provider. While I have been an employee for more than 3/4 of my life, this is the first time that I have had the pleasure of working for any organization in a variety of roles at different stages of my career. My career service to the District of Columbia began in 2018 when I was hired as an attorney advisor for the Rental Housing Commission. It was during this time that I gained direct knowledge and understanding of the Rental Housing Act of 1985, learned the agency's policies and procedures, and developed great working relationships with commission staff. When I returned to the commission as an administrative judge in April of 2023, I received a warm welcome from my colleagues and the support and resources I needed to refresh my recollection of the act and confidently hit the ground running. Although the commission is now an independent body, the agency's three-pronged mandate has not changed. As you stated earlier, Chairman White, the commission certifies and publishes the annual general rent adjustment, issues, amends, and rescinds rules and procedures for the administration of the act and for the resolution of disputes arising under the act. And in disputes under the act, we decide appeals from decisions of the rent administrator and the Office of Administrative Hearings. I am proud to say that I have been an integral part of the RHC team over the last 17 months, assisting with each of our three mandates. First, while the 2023 annual rent adjustment was set by the RHC prior to my appointment last year, the council subsequently passed emergency legislation to reduce the annual CPIW cap from 10% to 6% generally and 5% to 4% for protected tenants. Newly appointed to the commission, I actively engaged and contributed to the amendment of our annual notice and our ability to publish a supplement within weeks of the council's emergency legislation. As you know, the housing regulations had not been amended for more than 25 years until the omnibus rulemaking in 2021. I applaud my colleagues on this tremendous undertaking and have continued to support our rulemaking efforts by working with our team, important stakeholders, DHCD staff, and by providing timely analysis and suggested language and edits as part of our necessary amendments as we make the amendments that we're making to the eviction process under the Fairness in Renting Clarification Amendment Act of 2023. In response to our third mandate, during my tenure to date, I have issued 12 orders and 1 decision, with 1 additional decision set for issuance this month. This is significant because it fits squarely under Chief Judge Hunter's goal to decrease the time it takes the commission to resolve cases. My decisions and orders have not only been legally sound, but compassionate and written concisely to provide the parties with a greater understanding of the housing regulations generally and how the regulations apply to their specific circumstances. Most importantly, I believe that I have been a fair and observant judicial officer, thoroughly preparing for our hearings to ensure that I ask clear and pertinent questions to allow the parties, many who are pro se, meaning unrepresented, to present their best case on appeal. My smooth transition back to the RHC is a testament to the leadership of both Judge Adam Hunter and Judge Lisa Gregory and our small but mighty staff. It is also due to my 15 years of administrative law experience. Prior to joining the commission in 2018, I acquired 7 years of litigation experience assisting DC Superior Court judges and federal administrative law judges. It was through these experiences that I learned how to apply the law in a neutral manner and analyze complex legal issues from a judge's perspective, engage in de novo review of evidence and witness testimony, and write complex judicial opinions in layman's terms. I successfully applied this training and experience as an administrative law judge for the District of Columbia Commission on Human Rights between 2018 and 2020. During that time, I adjudicated private sector discrimination complaints brought under the DC Human Rights Act, and appeals from applicants found ineligible for employment under the Criminal Background Checks for the Protection of Children Act. I manage every aspect of adjudication, including mediation, setting discovery schedules, presiding over evidentiary hearings, and drafting orders and proposed decisions. Excuse me. In fact, my experience at the Commission on Human Rights and my current role at the Rental Housing Commission has been beneficial to both agencies as we recently entered an MOU to assist the Commission on Human Rights by serving as settlement judges or mediators for their human rights matters, with the goal of resolving matters more efficiently and at a cost savings for both the parties and the district in order to avoid costly evidentiary hearings. As an ALJ for the Commission on Human Rights, I closed several cases via mediation and am now sharing this knowledge with my RHC colleagues as we prepare to work collaboratively with the Commission on Human Rights to hopefully ease the caseload for their sole ALJ and build a training fund for the RHC judges and staff. Chairman White, this recent partnership is just one way that I'm utilizing my legal training, skills, and ability to serve my fellow residents in the district through the RHC. As Judge Hunter shared with you when he sat before the committee earlier this year, the Commission is deeply committed to fulfilling our mandate in a timely fashion, with an added focus on educating the public about the Commission's functions and our resources. Due to my range of experiences in government and community service, Judge Hunter has also assigned me the duties of research and collaboration building regarding access to justice. The Commission is seeing more and more pro se litigants who are generally less familiar with their rights and obligations, court processes, and legal negotiations. And so we are committed to doing our part to ensure equity in the judicial process for all of the parties who come before us. This summer, I met with my colleague at the Office of Administrative Hearings to learn more about the work of the Civil Legal Regulatory Reform Task Force of the DC courts. And I look forward to continuing this work if reappointed to the RHC. As the RHC's main focus is to preserve safe and affordable rental housing options in the District of Columbia, I have spent the past few weeks working with the RHC and DHCD teams to review the long-anticipated rental housing database to ensure the database forms and functions accurately reflect the Act, properly communicate the rights and responsibilities of housing providers and tenants, and is a user-friendly system that allows the district to obtain a clear sense of the number and location of rent-controlled units in the city. Although it has been a daunting task, I have been excited and grateful for the opportunity to touch this database, which will go a long way in achieving Mayor Muriel Bowser's goal of delivering new and affordable housing units in the district. In closing, when I sat before this committee last year, I promised that if confirmed, I would bring a fresh, well-rounded, and balanced perspective to the Rental Housing Commission, viewing cases through an impartial lens and with a background understanding of the perspective of all the parties involved. My testimony today is a summary of the ways in which I have fulfilled this promise. Today, I ask the committee for the opportunity to serve the RHC as an administrative judge for another 3 years and continue the work we are charged to do under the Act, as well as to continue the new projects the Commission has undertaken to underserve and better serve my fellow residents and the District of Columbia. Thank you, Chairman White, for the opportunity to testify before the committee today. I would be happy to respond to any questions from yourself or members of the committee.
Thank you so much, Judge Carmichael, and thanks for keeping your testimony to 10 minutes. The committee appreciates it. We'll keep our questions relatively brief. We have had you with us before. And I do want to first thank you for submitting a thorough response to our pre-hearing questionnaire, particularly your employment record. It's clear, organized, easy to follow, makes our work easier. So thank you. I'm going to start with questions about legal requirements for being a rental housing commission judge, which you also answered in the pre-hearing questionnaire, but it's good to have it on a public record for the residents who watch these hearings. You are a district resident, correct?
Yes, I am. 19 years and counting.
And you are not a landlord or a tenant? Is that
No,
correct?
sir. I'm a homeowner in Ward 7.
Excellent. The law requires that rental housing commission judges have skills and experience relevant to litigation, administrative law, or housing law. You did discuss some of this in your testimony, but can you share which of these categories you have experience in and describe that experience?
Sure. Chairman White, I have experience in all of those categories. I served as an attorney advisor at DC Superior Court. I've served as an attorney advisor for 2 federal agencies, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Board of Veterans Affairs, where I assisted and wrote decisions for administrative judges at those agencies. And I previously served as an administrative law judge for the District of Columbia Commission on Human Rights, doing work similar to what I do now, but of course, a different area of law, enforcing the Human Rights Act. With regards to housing, I gained experience and knowledge of the Rent Control Act when I worked as an attorney advisor for the Rental Housing Commission back in 2018.
Excellent. And we'll talk through issues of conflicts of interest. You have lived and worked in the district for almost 2 decades. In your time at the commission so far, have you had to recuse yourself from any cases due to conflicts of interest?
No, I have not.
You currently run your own business called Carmichael Community Connections, which helps businesses and organizations access government funding. Is there any overlap between that work and your work on the commission that could create a conflict of interest?
Chairman White, there is not. The Rental Housing Commission is not a grant-making agency, nor does Carmichael Community Connections apply for any DC government grants directly. I have requested a written opinion and advisory from Vega just to make sure that is thoroughly vetted and that I can provide your office or anyone who inquires about that to ensure there are no conflicts.
Excellent. And your position on the commission is a full-time job, correct?
Yes, it is.
What parameters do you have in place to separate and balance your business and your work on the commission?
I do my business on a part-time basis. And so I assist clients, as different grants become available and that they're eligible for. I do that work in the evenings and on the weekends.
So let's talk about your impact on the commission. In your testimony, you said you have issued 12 orders and 1 decision, with the second decision in progress. During budget oversight earlier this year, we learned that there had been 5 new cases in front of the commission in this fiscal year. So were the orders you completed from cases last year?
Yes, one of the cases I believe we heard in fiscal year 2023, and one of the cases we heard in fiscal year 2024. So the decision that will be issued this month is one of those 5 new cases that Judge Hunter mentioned when he was before you.
Okay. And for the public's benefit, can you share the difference between an order and a decision?
Yes, and so an order could be an order on attorney's fees. We may have already issued a decision in order where we make a final ruling on the legal matter at hand. And once the case is resolved, parties come back to us and they ask for attorney's fees from opposing counsel or the opposing party. And so we may issue an order that specifically says, yes, you can get attorney's fees, or no, you may not. We also issue orders when parties ask for extensions of time to file briefs or pleadings with the court. So we would, in our response to them, that would be considered an order as opposed to a decision.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In your testimony, I wasn't previously aware of this. You testified that the Rental Housing Commission judges will now be working with the Commission on Human Rights as settlement judges or mediators in support of the 1 administrative law judge on that commission. Can you say a bit more about this? Why is that necessary, and how is it beneficial to both agencies?
Sure. So conciliation or mediation is a large part of the process at the Office of Human Rights as well as the Commission on Human Rights. And so the Commission on Human Rights likes to offer their parties another attempt at mediation before they set a hearing schedule and have the parties go through the expensive process of discovery and having a full trial. In order for the Commission on Human Rights to be able to offer parties mediation, they need at least 2 judges on their staff, because you don't want to be the mediator for a case that you may then be the sitting judge and make the final decision on. Unfortunately, Chief Judge Erica Pearson passed away earlier this year. And so that left Judge Brandis Ash as the sole judge on the Commission on Human Rights, which means it would be difficult for her to both mediate and then hear all of the cases that are before her. As a former judge on the Commission on Human Rights, I was in that position for a few months there. So I was very aware and understood the situation that she was in those circumstances. And we talked about ways that we could assist her, and herself and Chief Judge Hunter talked about it and realized that we could, with our training and our experience, serve as mediators for her cases so that she wouldn't set up any conflicts or potential conflicts between her and the parties.
Excellent. So this is seen as a short-term, relatively short-term thing?
We have a 1-year MOU in place.
Okay. Last thing I want to touch on, and I think it's important for all of our agencies and commissions, is goals. Based on your experience at the commission over the past year and a half and your work prior at the commission in 2018, if you could improve one thing about the commission's work right now, what would it be?
I think the commission's work right now is on the right track. Judge Hunter and Judge Gregory and myself are fully committed to resolving cases more efficiently and with more expedience. The one thing I would say that we could probably use is a little bit more resources so that we could continue to get training on the administrative law process and additional training for our attorneys and staff.
What resources do you need in that respect?
It always comes down to financial resources, Chairman White, but I think this partnership with the Commission on Human Rights and the MOU we have in place is one way that we're working to generate some of those financial resources on our own.
Okay. And can you tell me just a little bit more? You mentioned in your testimony your work around access to justice, particularly given the increased number of pro se or unrepresented litigants. And you mentioned specifically that you met with colleagues at the Office of Administrative Hearings to learn more about the work of the Civil Legal Regulatory Reform Task Force for the DC courts. How do those two things relate? How will that help the commission serve pro se litigants better?
So the task force is currently considering new ways in which DC courts can have non-attorneys to serve and assist parties that are pro se. And the commission is similarly looking at what resources are available and how can we steer our pro se litigants to those resources and make sure that they know that they're available and are able to access them so they're more prepared and able to make their case when they come before us. The commission meets quarterly and their next meeting is on September 24th. So I'm in the process of doing some research, understanding the task force a little more, working with them to identify, whether or not paralegals or other individuals with legal training would be qualified and have the sufficient training necessary to assist parties in our process. Because we are an appellate body, it's a little different, as you know, than a traditional trial. And so we're still doing some research and having conversations to see if the work that they're doing will translate over to where we want to go with the commission.
Okay. In addition to access for justice work and working to get resources for ongoing professional development, are there any other goals that you have for your next term?
My goal for my next term is the same as it was for this one, to, impartially and fairly adjudicate the cases that come before us in an efficient manner.
And how would you, on the efficiency piece, how would you recommend that the council and the public evaluate whether or not, or how efficient the court is with cases?
That's a difficult question, Chairman White, but I would say, if parties have cases that are pending before us that are still impacting their day-to-day lives, we deal with rental housing issues. Because we're an appellate body, they've already received a decision from the lower court, the Office of Administrative Hearings. And so oftentimes they have done whatever it is that they need to do based on that decision. And our decision is one that brings them some peace or some final resolution when it comes to attorney's fees or really how they feel about the matter. Often we rarely have to overturn the Office of Administrative Hearings, but I think for parties that their lives are still daily impacted by whatever their housing issue is and the need for our decision, checking in with the commission to see where we are on their decision. For the committee, I would say looking at our numbers to see how we are doing in terms of issuing our decisions more efficiently.
Okay, that's something I'm going to want to continue to explore with the commission. Just how do we know how long cases should take and whether or not the commission is on track with those. But I appreciate your work and the work of the other judges and staff. And thank you again for being with us today and for all the information you provided to the committee. We will now turn to our next nominee, Anthony Bowling, a nominee for the Board of Real Estate Appraisers. Well, thank you for being with us today. You can begin your testimony.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson White and members of the committee. I'm Anthony Bowling, and I am pleased to receive your consideration for my reappointment to serve on the Board of Real Estate Appraisers. I'm grateful to Mayor Muriel Bowser for nominating me and honored to have this opportunity to serve the residents of the District of Columbia. I'm a second-generation Washingtonian, and a lifelong Ward 7 resident. I graduated from McKinley Tech High School, and after high school, I earned a 4-year athletic scholarship to play football and attend the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. I played nose guard in the team's victory over Purdue in the Peach Bowl Classic, where I met my Peach Bowl hostess, Melinda Bowling. Melinda would later become my mother and mother of our 2 children, Eliza and Absalom. And we will be celebrating 33 years of marriage next month on the 10th. During the summer of my junior year at UVA, I studied and earned my DC real estate salesperson's license and committed myself to a lifelong journey to become a real estate professional. After I graduated from UVA, I returned home and began my career with Shannon and Lux. Working with first-time homebuyers receiving down payment assistance from the district's HPAP program brought me to the attention of the Marshall Heights Community Development Organization. I served as their Director of Housing Production and assisted in producing over 60 new homes and renovated homes sold exclusively to HPAP buyers. I attended law school at the District of Columbia School of Law, now the UDC Dave Clark School of Law. And after law school, I joined Beretta & Associates, a commercial real estate brokerage. I refined my negotiation skills, representing office tenants and landlords in DC and Prince George's County, Maryland. After 5 years, I joined the General Services Administration. I served as a warranted contracting officer and conducted large-scale commercial office lease procurements on behalf of federal agencies, including the Executive Office of the President, the Department of State, and the Department of Defense. And it's there I earned the coveted Certified Commercial Investment Member designation, CCIM. I voluntarily separated from GSA in 2014 to pursue my entrepreneurial aspirations as an associate broker and director of KW Commercial, the commercial real estate group under Keller Williams Preferred Properties in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. At KWPP, I lead a team of diverse professionals offering our clients solutions to a wide range of real estate opportunities, from commercial office and retail leasing, luxury new home sales, land dispositions, and financial analysis of income-generating properties. The professional work experience I've garnered in pursuit of my goal of becoming a real estate professional has uniquely prepared me to serve the real estate broker representative on the board of real estate appraisers. My broad range of commercial and residential sales experience, coupled with my tenure on the Board of Real Property Assessments and Appeals, the predecessor to the Real Property Tax Appeal Commission, along with my specialized training as a CCIM, provide me with a unique perspective that supports the mission of the Board of Real Estate Appraisers. As regulators, the board's decisions and recommendations improve the character and competence of licensed professionals and protect the consumers of the District of Columbia by ensuring that the use path standards are being followed. Thank you, Chairman White, for this opportunity to testify before this committee. I'd be happy to answer any questions from you and the committee members.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being with us and stepping forward for this service role. So I guess for first question, how do you think the board can improve? Any thoughts on that?
Chairman Tamara Pappas leads the board and has done so for over 10 years now. The board is very efficient in the work that it does. The areas of improvement, in my short term there, being on the board 2 years, it seems to do great work in working when we receive complaints and renewals of persons seeking to get their appraisal license. If I had to say there was an area of improvement, it probably would be in the training of the members. We do attend regularly annual conferences around the country and find what other boards and commissions and other regulators are doing. But I would think in that regard, and I know we do have a budget for training of our members, but that would probably be an area that we would probably benefit from.
Okay. What are some of the challenges you see in the appraisal profession that you think should inform the work of the board or the district government?
The challenges that I see that we face, well, certainly it's been mentioned, and the lack of minorities who are in both the appraisal and the real estate profession in general, but in the appraisal industry, is an area that is of concern and has had financial impact on us. That's certainly an area. I know it goes beyond what our board does, but we do have an educational component, and we are actively participating and reaching out to students, undergraduates at UDC, as well as high school to introduce students to the opportunities that are available both in the appraisal and in the greater, broader real estate industry. So that is certainly a challenging area, bringing awareness to others of the opportunities that exist in our profession.
What's one goal you hope to accomplish while on the commission?
One goal, to help Thaddeus Dawson get 10,000 new appraisers to join the industry as appraisers.
How should we, so if you come back before us for, so if your nomination is approved and you come back for reapproval, how should we assess whether or not your term has been successful?
Well, one, if the chairman hasn't provided you with any complaints about my role and my participation. Two, well, that would probably be about it, right? If my boss is happy with my production and what we're doing there on the commission, that would be a great way to evaluate my service and my ability to continue on the board.
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Or perhaps not, right? So one of my concerns with boards and commissions is, and I'm not speaking of this commission at all, but we have a lot of boards and commissions in this city, and many of them don't do anything. People are happy to get appointed and then don't do anything, no recommendations. And too often, I think people just kind of want to get along. And so they don't criticize the mayor, they don't criticize the council, they don't, criticize internally. And that is a perfect recipe for no growth. And that's a place where I'm frustrated because I don't think the district can afford any more years of slow growth or no growth, and I think that we have to be willing to challenge each other, including and especially the people that we like. So my request to you is that if you are nominated, that your goal not be no complaints, but that your goal be a little more clear so that we can assess whether or not your appointment has been to the benefit of the city and the commission. So a complaint is not necessarily a bad thing. A lack of complaint is not necessarily a good thing, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. And it brings to mind when I was first appointed to the board as the broker representative, I was a little skeptical about how I might contribute, given that I'm not, in fact, a licensed appraiser, and my ability to properly evaluate persons seeking to join here in our city as appraisers. But what I've learned in my 2 years, though, is that my skills and expertise as a real estate professional has given me a perspective when we are reviewing, as in yesterday's board meeting, when we're reviewing 20 persons who are applying to join here in the District of Columbia as an appraiser, as well as complaints of persons who feel that the appraisal that they received of their property value was not appropriate, that I am able to see those complaints and applications through a different lens, not that of an appraiser. I have that skill and training to do financial analysis, but I live on the street as a broker with investors, with individuals, with homeowners who are looking to buy and sell properties. And when I'm seeing the kinds of errors that are being made by professionals here, I'm able to contribute to the conversations that the board is having differently when we're assessing that. And so I do agree with you, Chairman, that my goals as a member of the committee should be clear and measurable. Our board is not wanting for work, and we do yeoman's work. And when we meet monthly, to ensure that competent professionals are coming to seek to be licensed to provide value evaluations here in the District of Columbia is done. That is an important role that we play. And I know every member of the board takes that mission on personally, that we know the impact these appraisers will have on value and, more importantly, lives of the residents of the District of Columbia.
Your resume notes that you work for Keller Williams Preferred Properties as a direct associate broker in Maryland. Is that right?
Yes, it's based in Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
As a commercial real estate agent, is there anything you're seeing in terms of commercial real estate trends in the DC and Maryland area?
Well, commercial real estate professional, yeah, the availability of, commercial office space and retail space. I mean, we are struggling here. Our vacancies, as I'm sure you are aware of on the commercial side, are up and growing. Alternatives to what can be done with this vacant space abound. I applaud the mayor and what she has done to move the industry towards being creative and thinking about alternative uses of our commercial office space in terms of creating residential housing. I think that's a good thing for our city. But overall, yes, we are still in need of attracting more businesses here to the city to take on leasing. And so that's what I'm seeing as a commercial real estate professional. There's retail is stable, but office space is struggling, is hurting here in our market.
Is there, based on your work in Maryland, what are the biggest differences you see between working in Maryland and working in DC in that space?
The clients I'm working with who are gravitating to Maryland start off with free parking. The parking has become a lightning rod issue. It's something that clients that is their first, I'm looking for space, but I need available parking for my staff, for my clients, access. Metro, not as important in the Maryland market as parking is, and having that availability makes the difference. It's making the difference when clients are choosing to go to Landover, right? And they can now have the parking that they require while also having the ease of access by getting on the Metro when they have to come into the city to conduct business.
Does your work at Keller Williams pose a conflict regarding any matters that will come before the board?
Conflict? No. The board, we are charged with the mandate to review applicants seeking to become licensed appraisers. We are reviewing using use pass standards to evaluate complaints about appraisal values that consumers have received. My work at Keller Williams as a director is commercial and residential brokerage sales, real estate sales services. No, I can't. I'm thinking about it. There would not be any potential appearance of a conflict of interest in my work here.
Correct.
Yeah. No.
those are the questions we have. I want to very much thank you for being with us today, for your willingness to step forward with this public role.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, members.
Our final panel will include Erica Black and Edward Downs, nominees for the Real Estate Commission.
Yeah.
Thank you both for being with us. Erica Black, you can present your statement when you're ready, and Edward Downs, you can follow Ms. Black.
He said I start. Okay, ladies first.
Ladies first.
All right. Good afternoon, Chairperson White and members of the committee. I am Erica Black, and it is my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to serve on the Real Estate Commission. I am grateful to Mayor Merrill Bowser for nominating me and honored to have the opportunity to serve the residents of our district. I stand before you today with immense gratitude and a profound sense of purpose. Since my appointment by Mayor Bowser to the District of Columbia Real Estate Commission in 2019, it has been both an honor and a privilege to serve in the role that is not just about real estate, but about empowering individuals and communities. Real estate has woven its way through the fabric of my life journey, shaping my experiences and aspirations. Allow me to share a bit of my background. As a college student at North Carolina Central University, I took a bold step and purchased my first home. It was a decision rooted in an aggressive saving strategy that my husband, Antonio Beck, he's also a proud DC native, and I embraced it. Together, we've invested in real estate as a response to the high cost of living. And through this journey, I have discovered the incredible financial empowerment that comes from owning real estate assets. It is my fervent desire to help others experience the same liberation. As a commissioner, I am deeply committed to fostering interest in the field of real estate among students. I make it a priority to attend career events, engaging with young minds and inspiring them to explore the opportunities that lie within this vibrant industry. The S in my middle name stands for service. It's Sharon, of course. Service is not just a word for me. It is a guiding principle. In 2023, I was honored to receive the North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics Chancellor's Award for Exemplary Service, a recognition that resonates with my commitment to giving back. Throughout my career in real estate, I have been fortunate to be recognized as a leader in this industry. In 2023 alone, I was honored to be named the 40 Under 40 DC Metro Real Producer. And I've had the privilege of being the keynote speaker at North Carolina Central University's 40 Under 40 Awards Gala and the Eastern Carolina Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officers Conference. I am proud to say that I rank as #1 in the Washington, DC and greater region. Thanks, Ed. For units sold from 2021 to 2023. Additionally, I received the 40 Under 40 award from North Carolina Central University in 2020, which was instrumental in establishing the North Carolina Central's 40 Under 40 Endowment Fund. Currently, that fund sits at $75,000. I'm so happy. As I reflect on my achievements, I'm reminded that my journey is not just about personal success, but about the impact I can have on our community. I am committed to continuing my service to the district, diligently working to regulate licensees and protect the public. I want to create a future where everyone has access to the empowerment that comes from real estate. Thank you, Chairman White, for the opportunity to testify before this committee. I will be happy to respond to questions from you and the members of the committee. There is one thing that I do want to note for the record. I am now a Ward 4 resident. I know a lot of this paperwork has Ward 7, so I just want to note that for the committee.
Thank you so much. Mr. Downs, you can begin your testimony. Thanks for being with us.
You. Thank you. That's better? Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's good or bad to go last, but anyway. Good afternoon, Chairperson White and members of the committee. I'm Edward Downs, and it is my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to continue serving on the Real Estate Commission. I'm grateful to Mayor Muriel Bowser for nominating me and honored to have this opportunity to continue serving the residents of the District of Columbia. Part of these hearings are to get to know each other, and perhaps the quickest way of getting to know me is by sharing some statistics. I'm a second-generation Washingtonian. I've continuously lived in the district for 46 years. I've been a DC property owner for 43 years. I've been practicing real estate for 34 years. Over the course of my real estate career, I've been a volunteer in the real estate community for 19 years. When I initially joined the Real Estate Commission, I'd been a volunteer leader for 12 years in realtor associations at the state, local, and national level. Most recently, I've served on the DC Real Estate Commission for approximately 6 years. The relevance of these numbers is that as a DC native, a well-seasoned real estate practitioner, a business community leader, and now as a commissioner, I have a unique perspective on how to best protect the public safety and treat everyone fairly. In addition to my perspective on real estate, my ability to serve the public has been guided by and enhanced through my current involvement with the Association of Real Estate Licensed Law Officials. For short, it's ARELO. For real estate regulators, ARELO is the only resource of information, knowledge, and ideas for improving real estate license laws and regulations in North America. I mention ARELO here because in moving forward, I strongly believe the District of Columbia Real Estate Commission has an opportunity to greatly benefit from continuing our participation in ARELO seminars, information exchanges, information databases, monthly reports on regulatory trends in the real estate field. As important as it is to continue conferring and learning from our counterparts in the other states, I'd like to see the DC Real Estate Commission undertake some enhancements, such as establishing a comprehensive license management database, something that we haven't had for 4 years, establishing a searchable database of complaints and inquiries so that commissioners and staff can easily research precedents in decision-making and discern locally trending regulatory issues, requiring that all DC real estate commissioners complete the 2-part Commissioner College education course offered by ARELO so that we can be better commissioners. And finally, consider rulemaking or rule changes to allow the commission under certain specific circumstances to respond more quickly to issues raised by licensees or members of the public. Thank you, Chairperson White, for the opportunity to testify before this committee. I would be happy to respond to questions from you and the members.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and so you kind of ended here, Mr. Downs. So let me ask Ms. Black, how do you think the commission could improve?
I feel that we could improve if we could have a little bit more autonomy as far as dealing with our cases. Usually, all the information, it comes to us, but I feel like we just are just a little bit limited in our autonomy.
And what's one goal you hope to accomplish on the commission?
One goal that I would love to accomplish, I'm on the education committee, so I would like to do more educational efforts in regards to educating the public and also educating our licensees, because this climate is always changing. We just have a lot going on in the real estate industry, so just more education. I know that we offer the continuing education, but just beyond that, as far as like operating and practicing as licensees. We have a lot of licensees, but most of them don't really know what they're doing. So education is super important.
Mr. Downs, you mentioned some recommendations, completing a licensing database, having a database of complaints and I think resolutions, requiring certain training for commissioners and rule makings or rule changes. Are any of these things that you would suggest are goals of yours for the upcoming term?
I will do everything I can to see that we have a fully functioning license management system in place. And I can elaborate on that. I don't know if you know the background or not.
I don't. Please elaborate.
What we had, as do many boards and commissions, we had a third-party vendor providing services. And through my informal conversations with people in the other states at Arello events, I've learned that what the district did was quite common, and that is decide that we can do it ourselves. We don't need a third-party vendor. I also learned from talking to my colleagues in other states that it's not at all uncommon when this decision is made to not have a new system in place for a smooth transfer of data and a seamless functioning. So it's been 2 license cycles. We renew licenses every 2 years. So we're on is it our second? Our third, actually, where our license management system is really not up to speed. It has just recently improved, and we're hopeful and appreciative of all of that. In the past, our licensing management system tracked the continuing education classes that each licensee took, so that it was easy to see if you had completed your requirements for 2-year license renewal. We haven't had that. So what we have to do is the commission has voted to allow licensees to attest. I swear I've completed all the requirements. I was shocked at first, but again, with Leon Lewis, our administrator, we did a very informal online poll of other states. Other states actually do allow for attestation for continuing education, but what they do is they then devote time and money to doing an audit of between 5 and 10% of their licensees.
So what would it take for DC to get an updated database?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because I'm not, this is the not frustrating thing, but because I'm earning money working as a real estate agent and I'm a commissioner.
Yeah.
So I'm not in the government buildings all the time to know what the time and money constraints might be.
Okay.
And I am a student of government. I have worked on Capitol Hill briefly. So with my degree in poli-science, I understand that the wheels of government turn more slowly than they do in business. And so we've got this inherent dynamic between business people. And of course, we're independent contractors. We only have success if we solve a problem and move forward. So we're by nature impatient. But like I said, in my earlier life, I've been close enough to government to know that sometimes things require 6 levels of approval. So it's hard for me to answer that question. When this first happened, many of us who are working in the real estate industry said, why don't you just stroke a check and bring in a third-party vendor. Well, you know, I'm not there to make those decisions.
Got it.
I
Got it.
gotta respect that. So
Okay.
I want to be respectful of that.
But we were more efficient with a third party.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me move to a few other questions for you, Ms. Black. Your resume notes that you work for Coldwell Banker Residential Brokerage as a real estate salesperson. That's correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. What has your time as a real estate salesperson taught you about working with the community you serve?
That's a good question. The reason why that's a good question is because initially when I started out, this is not where I wanted to be with my life. So, you know, I had a desire as far as community economic development. And so I just kind of fell into this real estate space, and it allows me to do a number of things, especially, you know, even though it's on a micro level, I'm able to transform each individual as far as their family. You know, there are a lot of first-time home buyers. I was a first-time home buyer. I'm a first-generational college graduate. So it just allows me to give back and just make that impact, especially for first-time home buyers.
And does your work at Coldwell Banker pose a conflict regarding any matters or cases that came before the commission?
No, my work as a real estate agent, no, with Coldwell Banker.
Your resume mentions that you previously served as an advisory neighborhood commissioner. Is that right?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you learn as an ANC about public service and community advocacy?
We're chairman, I got a lot of gray hair from that position. No, it was an awesome experience in Ward 7. I got to, you know, I moved from North Carolina. It was a new place, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna hop into politics.
Jumped all the way in.
Right. I was on the ballot with Obama. I'm like, this is awesome. So, you know, I went in there, and I wanted to change so many things and make so many things happen. But because I was an outsider, you know how DC is, because I was an outsider, I wasn't able to make as large of an impact as I would have wanted, but I was a treasurer, so I was able to keep our books balanced, and I was able to meet a lot of fabulous people in Ward 7, and it was just a good way to meet my neighbors and also just make an impact as far as the small things. There are a lot of seniors in Ward 7, so they're like, oh, my trash can, I need a new trash can. Or just all the small little knickknacks. And I was able to also get a traffic light in Ward 7 because I did also used to work near Capitol Hill. I used to work for the North Carolina Governor's Office, which is in the Hall of States building. So sometimes I would walk home, and there was a stoplight. There was not a stoplight, and at a crossing that was very dangerous. I deemed as dangerous, and the Department of Transportation also. So I was able to implement and get that. So it just felt good getting those small little wins and helping the community. So I love being an ANC commissioner. It was
That's
great.
good. That's good. Well, kudos on that stoplight. I had to become a council member to get a stop sign in my neighborhood.
Really?
It's crazy.
Yeah, I got
And
a stop sign.
DC folks will put you through the ringer. But in defense of DC folks, I'll mention Marion Barry and Chuck Brown were transplants. So, but it takes a long time to build that
Yeah.
trust. And thank you for your service as an ANC commissioner.
Thank you.
Mr. Downs, any states in particular you think we should look to in order to learn more about how we can improve our real estate commission?
Any specific states?
Yes.
Oh, that's a tough question.
You don't have to know the answer. Yeah, I mean,
No.
I wonder if there's any that come to mind, best
Well,
practices.
I think the more that we can rub shoulders with our Arello colleagues, the more we're going to pick up tips and improve who we are. Let me just say this, that when we are at Arello conventions, DC stands out.
Yeah, we do.
They know we're
In a good
different.
way.
We're
Yeah.
different. Yeah, I mean, I silenced a room. We were talking about something, and I casually mentioned, well, we have like 20 protected classes for fair housing, and people just kind of, their jaws dropped, you know?
Yeah.
And also in terms of standards of practice, which is not really related here, but there's been a big flap over commissions and buyer broker representation and documenting it. And I was at another Arello function with, you know, people from not quite 50 states. And I said, you mean you don't do this, 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 and this? And they realized that we were about 20 years ahead of them in terms of our standards. So to answer your question, I think we can learn from everybody and we can teach them too.
Mhm.
If there's one state that I kind of love for regulation, it's North Carolina.
And why is that?
They were hit by a big lawsuit, and maybe you remember this, a long time ago, the Board of Dental Examiners or something was called on the carpet, and they had to clean up their regulation. And that sort of served as a catalyst for them to be really scrupulous and really progressive in how they regulate everything. I'm always impressed from my colleagues from North Carolina when I talk to them.
Has your work in the real estate industry posed a conflict regarding any matters or cases that have come before the commission?
In a general sense, no, not conceptually, but there have been occasionally complaints where I have recused myself or left the room even for the discussion. And I think the commission is pretty good about paying attention to that. I know that we've consulted with our legal counsel on those matters, like, should I step out now? And we're pretty meticulous.
Is that for like former clients or what, rough, not specifics, but
Oh, if I am personal friends with somebody against whom a complaint has been filed,
got it. Okay.
or if somebody works for the same brokerage,
Yes.
you know. So,
Okay. I appreciate the better safe than sorry. Avoid the
Yeah,
appearance.
we're pretty good about that, I think.
Okay, excellent. Well, those are all the questions I have. I want to thank you both, like the other nominees, for being with us today, for stepping up for these nominations, and I appreciate your willingness to serve.
Well, it's an honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are all our witnesses for today. As we close, I want to mention that if anyone is interested in keeping up with this committee's work and finding ways to get involved, please sign up at robertwhiteatlarge.com so we can be in touch with updates. The record for this hearing will be open until the close of business on Thursday, September 26, 2024. Anyone who is interested in submitting written testimony for the record can do so through the council's hearing management system at lims.dc.gov/hearings, LIM as in Michael S. .dccouncil.gov/hearings. The business before this committee is finished. The time is 2:34 p.m. and this roundtable is adjourned.